All right, well, hello there. And here we are, once again, high atop Mount Shasta, with snow coming down at a feverish pace. And it's beautiful. My heart's filled with joy. I'm bubbling. The snow is phenomenal white. Mount Shasta is covered. There's a storm. I'm sitting in the energy. It's just a glorious, glorious day. So here we are making the, this is the November tape. And for all of you who are wondering, we're making it on this date, December the 8th. Why do I call it a November tape? Because all of November I was on the road, and so I only make the tape when I'm ready to make the tape, so you know that one. Okay, so let's see. We're kicking around different ideas, different thoughts, something to work with. And as I look around, I'm given the thought of purity. Purity. It's because basically all this white driven snow kind of popped into my head, and it's kind of an unusual thing that a word will just pop in there without any kind of set up material. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sort of start to run with the word purity and see where it ends us up at. First thing I think of is purity of thought, purity of action, the centering point, the harmonic, the balancing fulcrum piece that allows everything to sort of move within a movement that creates no resistance to any particular part. Purity, therefore, is a word that covers a lot of different things. As I was sitting here thinking about the word, I noticed that purity is more along the lines of a Catholicism or Christianity format, where they tell us that within goodness there's a purity, some sort of a feeling that brings us joy. And because I was hanging out in joy, I was sort of, like playing with these words. Purity is a refinement of a lesson that has no judgment. There's no right, no wrong. It's just purity. It's sort of in the middle, the center. It's non-judgmental. And so it's a lot of different things kind of thrown together. I noticed that if I'm pure, in essence, that the material that I put out, or the thought that I put out, or the action that I put out is going to come back and serve me in the future cleanly, purely. I know that there's purity within my body. If I take in pure foods, then I know that there's a purity within the system. I also know that I can't judge the foods that I put into my system, because then it's not coming from purity. It's coming from this is right and this is not. And so in order to take pure foods in, sometimes these pure foods are junk food. Sometimes they are healthy salads. Sometimes they are meat. Sometimes they are just the thing that brings joy and love to me in that form of purity, of non-judgment. Purity, as I began to push it around, started to come up with the scenario that it could be anything that allows you to flow. When I looked at the word, I began to notice that purity also put you into present time, because it was making you conscious of things. It was allowing you to stay focused or centered on material. As I looked at the word purity, I then decided that I had looked long enough and saw that it was drifting into all sorts of words. And then I also noticed that it was just another word to look at the different things around us. And then I thought to myself, well, I picked the word purity up from the freshly driven snow, and so maybe What I was supposed to be thinking about was the freshly driven snow. Things that drive us. I'm watching the snow as the snow falls and it gathers. And I'm just trying to make sense out of all of the things that there are and all of the words that I use to you. We interrupt this broadcast for an important message. The important message is as followed. I love you. I love you. I love you. We are now going to return you back to normally programming. This has just been a special report brought to you live. Thank you very much. Well, hello there. Wow, what an important news flash that was. Basically, I discovered that I wanted to change the subject. And I wanted to be cute, so I interrupted our program, the naturally scheduled program, with a chain of events. Because this is a live program, we're allowed to do that. I was just sort of sitting here, and there was a flash of light that was spectacular. And I just got this surge through my heart. It said it loved me, and I wanted to express that with you. I really do love you. And in this expression of love comes in many forms. You know, I was just talking about love a minute ago. And the snowflakes were little tiny things, and they were being driven. And then there was this flash of light, and all of a sudden, these snowflakes, instead of being little tiny round balls of hail, are like, gosh, like these inch-round flakes that are just hurling. And the entire storm that I was sitting in just 2 seconds ago shifted, and all of a sudden, so did the material. It was like amazing. And so as I look at things, I think to myself, well, wow, change is an amazing thing. Can I roll with change? Can I take the pump that change offers to me all of the time? And so all of a sudden I decided to change the tape, change the material, change everything. And I decided then to talk about change. As I was sitting here on the mountaintop, it was amazing because I was watching the pattern of the snow, and I was observing what was happening, and I was seeing that the snow was getting into little tiny pebbles, and I was playing with purity, and I was playing with all of the different things. And I was listening to the words that I was saying, and I noticed that I was talking about all things that were in present time, that were dealing with the purity. And then all of a sudden, as I was talking to you, everything changed. I mean, the snow changed. There was this flash of light. There was a racing of godness through my heart, and now I'm sitting here looking out the window, and it is not the same picture that was there, no less than, 30 seconds ago, a minute ago? And I thought to myself, wow, Dennis, you just changed material in the middle of a sentence. And I thought to myself, well, yeah, that's because I'm in present time. While I was sitting there in present time, getting ready to change the tape, as it came out of my mouth, I thought to myself, well, let's just make a new tape. Why, let's just toss this one out. I've already started 5 different tapes and didn't like any of them. And it's perfect now because now I see why I started 5 different tapes to make this one. The tape is about change and not taking life personal and staying within the divine flow. The change was such a unique change that I had to, sort of button down the hatch. I had to roll up the window. I had to stop the snow from piling up drifts in the seat with me. And I noticed that within the material, I'm so present time that if I need to make a change, you're all totally there with me because you are in present time. One of the greatest teachings that we have. In present time, I was able to see the flash of light. My heart was able to open. I was able to take a blast of pure energy, which is just part of the phenomena up here, through the windshield into my heart, because I had to stay in the car to do this tape because the snow is just that downpouring. And I also noticed how quickly I was willing to change the material, change the concepts, change everything. Are all of us ready to make an instant change like that in our life? You know, can you shift and change your material instantaneously? Because the moment that you're in is changing instantaneously. And sure, I'm still overwhelmed in the joy of the day, but like, wow, I'm just changing material, boom, split second here and now. Can you do that within your life? Can you make that smooth transition? Can you be saying one thing and all of a sudden in the middle of a sentence know that it is no longer applicable in that split second, and you just change it, whammo, it's done. In that change, you know, are you in that present time that you can see the magnificence of God in every given moment and know that you don't have to follow any certain pattern any longer? You can just leap and change and know that everything around you is right with you. You see, as I was talking with you in the tape, you were following me. One thing, okay, he's talking about purity and where is he leading? And I'm here, I'm right with him. And all of a sudden, boom, a broadcast is brought to you. And it was brought to you humorously, because it's like how they interrupt you on television, for those of you who may have ever been watching TV and seen a special broadcast come in the middle of a football game or a good program. And it's that readiness that we have to make the change. Shift to what he's going to say. Listen closely on the tape. Wow, he's jumping time. No, he's not jumping time. He's jumping material. He's staying in time. He's changing. He's expressing the lovingness of himself instantaneously. Changing the material. Changing the essence of life. Changing because nature and the surroundings that I am in are changing. The snow has changed just from this last burst. I mean, it's more than white up here. We're talking about enough snow now that it's going to be really deep and a real treat to drive downhill. And that's going to keep me in present time. New surroundings, new everything. People staying in present time and changing. Changing to allow who you are to happen in every given moment. Allowing your worth to just be that worthy. That you can share that change with somebody and not worry about what's going to happen, because all of a sudden you changed your mind. People go, man, come on, we're depending on you to be solid. Well, I'm solid within the changing, because I'm solid in present time. And I'm willing to make that change regardless of what the universe had in mind. You know why? Because the universe is always changing. It allows me to break patterns. It allows me to break habits. It allows me to see myself. It allows me to see more of myself and how I see myself. Changing is the greatest thing that you can do. You know, we've got this thing that says, well, but we've already got rules over here that say, but I've also noticed that we have other rules that say we can change the rules. And so there are those things set up that allow us to change. There are those things that come up where we go, oh wow, I can't make this. I've got to call and tell them I didn't know this was going to happen in my life. Whatever this is. And you call and you say, gosh, I know we had this commitment, but I didn't realize that in present time this was going to come up. And so I must be true to myself in this moment. And in order to respect you in this moment, because we had agreements, I'm calling you to tell you of the change. And this allows me to be free, and it allows me to be expressive. And it also allows people to know what I'm like. That I'm willing to go for the highest thought in any given moment. And I'm willing to change in any given split second to support that higher thought. And I know that if I stay in present time, my world around me will accept the change with love and with understanding, because they know who I am. I am a person that exists in present time. Rules do not hold for me because I am constantly changing myself as the universe and I grow. And I must be able to make these changes. See, the government makes changes, but the changes are slow because they are so locked solid in the major truths that it's difficult to be in the present moment for them. Change is a little different. But nevertheless, change is there, and they even acknowledge that they are willing to change. But through evolution and through the changing of laws and parliamentary procedure and all those things. But at least they're still there to change. And some things take longer to change. Some things are instant. Some things will change in the future. But we just must be able to accept those changes in our life and not have any problems with them. Just all of a sudden, just deal because you are in present time. The downpour, the angle of the snow has changed. The energy that I work with as I make this tape changes. Why do these changes happen? Because I am constantly changing in myself as an essence. Let's take a real look at change to see that base core. Let me show you your base core of real change. First of all, we're a human being. Let's just take the animal nature. Let us just take the part of the system that is autonomic, the automatic parts of our system. And let's look at them as they change through the day so that we can understand our changes. Even in this, how I change in order to access different things. We're 90% liquid, 83% water. The planet is 2/3 liquid or 2/3 water. The moon moves around in an orbit around us, and it creates tides, the rise and the fall of tides on the planet. So therefore the tides move 2/3 within a day, within a cycle. Our body, being liquid, also moves as the tides move. 90% of our body shifts and moves. That means that chemicals that our body is constantly making for digestion or the purification of chemicals in our system through the kidneys and the liver, or the purification and changing of the air as it goes through the liquid blood and carries oxygen to different parts of our body. Just imagine that the liquids in our body are changing all day long because of the tides. We've got ebb tides within our body. We have this liquid flow within inside of our body. We have this changing within inside of our body. And as it changes, so do our thoughts from moment to moment to moment. We must stay in present time so that we have the highest thought available to us at all times. And present time is how we are responding now, not how we responded in the past, but how we are changing to meet our environmental or that which is around us right now. What are we doing? These are important things. Now, as all this liquid shifts within our body every day, I mean, if you've noticed, we're different in the morning, we're different in the afternoon, we're different in the evening. We have rougher edges at different times during the day. We change. We must observe this change in our life and use this change to support our growth to the highest. Besides the liquid currents in our body with these eddies and these movements and these affect change within us. You know, as these winds pass through all of the openings within our body, they create different movement within us. They create different pressures on the organs. And as different pressures are created on these, we have different feelings within inside of ourselves. We must be able to stay in present time, changing with present time always, so that we don't stay with rules and regulations, because the rules that worked with the peace and calm in us before, say in the morning, Do not work with us when we are with a lot of winds blowing through us and a lot of pressures and the storms rushing in. We must accept and change thoughts or ideas within hours, within minutes, as the times change within us. And we must do it without judgment. We must do it without upsetting the apple cart. So by staying true to ourselves, we do not upset the apple cart. We merely interplay in others' worlds as the cause and not the effect. Because you've heard me say before that you are growing to be the cause of things, not the effect. And how do you just become the cause and not the effect? You don't take it personally. See, in the cause, you're willing to change. Cause and effect. You're there creating. Effect. You're clear that your creations were perfect. Therefore, what you get back is perfection. Therefore, you don't judge anything that comes your way because you see everything in perfection. You just keep changing in the moment to fit what it is that is your highest given thought, always. And you must be able to change, even rules and regulations. Now, this doesn't mean that you're going to change important things in your life continuously and that you're totally undependable and things of that nature. You will find that you will create a flow, a creative pattern that is so fine and so clean that the universe will allow you to flow within the natural flow of things. Those things that are willing to change at every given moment. How the plant is ready to change in every season. How the plant is ready to reproduce at any given moment in any part of the season. Depending on what? The changing of the weather. The changing of the seasons. The plant becomes adaptable. It is willing to change. The plant does not spring forth in spring at a given time every single time, or the same given day, I mean to say, every time, every year. It fluctuates depending on the weather, the snow, the rain, the moisture. The length of the crop depends on the heat, the sun, the weather, all of the changes of nature, and yet they flow. They're willing to accept the change. They're willing to even hibernate. That was fun. They're even willing to hibernate at different times for different lengths. Nature is willing to change. She has no given laws. Even though in physics we say there are certain laws, there are none. Look at what nature does, and she survived. She's been in perfect flow. For millions of years she's been out here doing perfect things. She's willing to change. She's willing to adapt. She's willing to allow fires to rage through her and still be fine. She's willing to grow and she's willing to change. She's willing to be all that she can be. She's awesome. And she stays that way because she stays in present moment always. And she's willing to change. And say the storm comes and winter stay longer. She's willing to change. And so are all of the animals. They can adapt. They can make the happening. They flow with nature because they're in present moment. They're not thinking of the future. They're not thinking of the past. They're not into guilt. They're not into blames. They're not into criticism. They're not into the future past. They're not into the things that take you out of present time. In present time, they have a knowing. They start storing more nuts if it's going to be a bad winter because they're in the moment. And in a good winter, they're not storing as many nuts. They're not working as hard. And so they're not, doing the same thing every year. They're willing to change by being in the moment, by staying with nature. Nature is being in the moment. Nature is changing all of the time. We are changing all of the time. We must be able to change all of the time and not take it personally. We must be able to roll with the punches. We must be like the tree that bends. We must be like that willow that gives but never breaks. You see, our lives are changing radically. If you've just observed yourself through the series of this year's tapes and noticed how much you've changed and noticed how much you've grown. And noticed how much you've been willing to stay in present time. Because it's really the key. And as you've stayed in present time, notice how the harmony, the purity, the centering has been. The expression of oneness when you are in that present time. You see, because when you change in the given moment, because that's the moment you're in the flow with nature. And there is a joy that nature shares that says, hey, you are happening with me in the flow, in harmony, in present time. You are with it. You are happening. Thank you for being in the flow. Thank you for changing lovingly with me. Thank you for seeing me for what I am. Nature, she is magnificent. She is the pattern that has showed me all of the patterns to change into words to tell people about. To tell you about the changes. To tell you how to be able to stay in present moment, because don't get concrete in any one thing. Things come and go continuously. You must be able to grow with them. Things are there to learn. Things are there to show. Yeah, so we'll just let the rest of this tape run out, and I'll start with you afresh on the other side. Thanks. Meet you there.